everybody? Welcome back to Taste Like Music. Jason, Joe, and Crams are here. We are kicking off Cramtober with Husker Du Week. If you haven't seen the previous videos that we put out this week, check them out. We ranked the 6 studio albums of Husker Du, and as always,
Boo.
we ranked the 6 studio albums of Husker Du, and as always, we gave you our top 10 favorite songs. Today, for side 3, we are going to talk about unnecessary double albums. And that can mean whatever you want it to mean. Maybe they're too long, maybe they don't need to exist at all. But here are some double albums that we don't need. You know, people are always, every time you talk about double albums, people are always trying to cut it down to a single album. And I'm usually opposed to that. You know, I like an artist to indulge themselves, especially if it's an artist I like, and, you know, give me more. I'm usually fine with it, but I do have some here for today that I think are maybe a little too much.
Okay, well, I'm going to try and upset everyone equally because there are so many double albums that do not need to exist. Most of them don't need to exist at all, but some of them could be pared down to one album very easily. One that doesn't need to exist at all, but I would like it much better if it was like 25, 30 minutes. Daydream Nation, Sonic Youth. I hate it. I hate every minute of it. And I wish it didn't exist. So it was a ripe one for trimming for me. We'll do a little prog. Get on the prog guys' nerves. Tales from Topographic Oceans. Completely unnecessary. No, it's come on. What is it? Like 4 songs, 4 sides? Like you went too far. You had it with Close to the Edge, yes, and you took it too far. Number 4, well, it doesn't matter what number these are. I'm gonna go with Eat a Peach, which I think is a fantastic album, but Mountain Jam, completely unnecessary for it to be, what, 30 minutes long. It is a tight little LP in there, but it's just bloated by Mountain Jam. I'm sorry. I wish I loved it more because every song on there is killer except Mountain Jam. We'll do Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me from The Cure. I just don't need that much Cure in my life. It's just too much. It would have been a great single LP. It's still a fine album, but just completely pointless as a double album. And a lot of choices for the last one. Thought about putting Clube de Esquina on there, however you say it, the famous Brazilian album. Um, but I don't know enough about that whole genre. I really like that album, but it just goes on forever. So I won't put it on there. I'll put on, I'll do Blue Moves by Elton John because that's after Rock of the Westies, he kind of lost it for me. And Blue Moves is just bloated beyond anything he could have dreamt of on Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, which has a little padding to it, but it's still fantastic. Blue Moves is just the opposite of that, where it's just like all bloat surrounding like 3 or 4 like nice little gems. So gotta shoot some smack at Elton for that one because that was a bad one. It's a bad idea.
All right. You didn't take any of mine, and there's one that I thought for sure you would have there. Ummagumma by Pink Floyd. Doing something that Jason hates and I used to not be on board with, but now I kind of hate it too the more I come across it. Why are we splitting up things? Why not just make them 2 albums? Put out a live album, put out a studio album. Neither of them were really that good. We weren't crazy about Ummagumma. I know there's a lot of people in the comments that think we're crazy for thinking that. That's fine. Either way, we don't need this to be a double album. I'm also going to go in the same vein, In Your Honor by Foo Fighters, half acoustic, half electric. None of it good whatsoever. I am not a Foo Fighters fan really at all. Love them to death as guys. R.I.P. Hawkins, but that's this like, is their music really dense enough for like that multi-dimensional that they're like, we need this amount of music on our album. No friggin' way, dude. None of their songs should be over 3 minutes and 10 seconds. None of their albums should be more than 25 minutes. Come on. Now I'm gonna do an album that I like, or a couple albums that I like, but would probably be elevated if they were trimmed. One of them being There by Wilco. I think if you take the 8 best songs on there and just make a nice tight little EP, or LP, that is a friggin' 4.5, 5-star masterpiece there. There's a little bit of bloating and it's a little bit too long. And I'm also going to say the same about Tusk by Fleetwood Mac. There's a lot of good material in there, but it doesn't really move well. It's kind of awkward, and there's some stuff in there I don't care for at all. But my least favorite double album of all time, Billy Joel's Greatest Hits, Volumes 1 and 2. It's a double album. It's way too much Billy Joel. It does not need to exist. We should not be collecting his songs in some sort of celebratory nature. I know Dylan Seavey has my back here. That's got to be the worst double album of all time. You don't need it.
Well, I suppose it's better than all of those individual Billy Joel albums.
You don't need any of it. Shouldn't be a thing.
Tremendous call on In Your Honor. Man, I forgot that one. That does not need to be a double album. All right, kind of similar to that, and a band I like a lot, but I think this is kind of where they kind of started to jump the shark a bit. I've got Saturday Nights and Sunday Mornings by Counting Crows. You could trim a couple tunes, mix up the slow songs and the peppier rockers, and have a much more flowing sequence of tracks. I just hate the way they divided that up. It's a big pet peeve of mine, so I'm going with another one of those by Ben Harper, Both Sides of the Gun, splitting up the rock tunes and the ballads, and I just hate it. Never works. Don't do it. Next, I'm going to go with a record that I just wish didn't exist at all, and that is Stadium Arcadium by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. This band is the bane of my existence. I just want them to go away, and they keep putting out tons of music. Double albums, 2 albums in a year, massive albums. Please just stop entirely. Go away. Then I'm going to go with one that might hurt some feelings around here. I've got Aerials by Kate Bush. It's just way too long. I don't think it needs to be that long. I don't think it's interesting really at all. So to have it stretched out to that length, too much for me. Then you guys took a bunch of my other ones, but my last one, I think, I got one left. Yeah. I'm going to stretch the rules a little and go with Sandinista by The Clash, triple album that probably could have been an EP. It is way, way too much music, and way too much of it is not very good.
What? I thought you were going to... Is Use Your Illusion technically a double album?
No, it's not. So you can't talk shit on it.
Just 2 shitty albums.
And
there's one album that should be a double album, so we can just get it out of the way in one listen.
Looking through this list of double albums, most of them shouldn't be double albums. And that's really the crux of all of this. Like, there's very few double albums that needed to be double albums. Maybe Miley Cyrus, Hannah Montana, because there are 2 distinct personalities, and so they each need their own album. But other than that, I can't think of a reason for most of these double albums to exist.
I mean, there are some great double albums. There's a great triple album.
There's like 12 of them, and the list of double albums is like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
No, like I said at the intro, I'm all for making a double album, especially if it's an artist I like. Yeah, I'm pumped if I hear they're putting out a double album, but it doesn't always work out that way, especially when you try to get conceptual about it and split the tracks. It's just, why? Just make a record.
And it was a little different back in the day when it was like 60-minute double albums, 45-minute double albums, 50-minute, what was the 50, 60 minutes was a double album back in the day, and now it's like 80, 90, 100 minutes long. Like that's pushing it.
Yeah, and then when you get into the late 90s, and literally every record that came out would have been a double album in the 70s. So that's another story for another day. Stories and songs. All right. Thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment below with some double albums that you think are too long, don't need to exist. And yeah, check out the links: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, website, merch, Patreon. All of that's in the video description. And we'll see you in the next one.